All right, it's week number 9 of the NFL season. We have got 15 games this week, with the only two teams being on bye, the San Francisco 49ers and the Pittsburgh Steelers. But other than that, of course, we got 15 games. And folks, if you haven't yet, though, make sure that subscribe button down below for some more weekly NFL predictions here on the channel. We've done this every single week so far in the NFL season, and we're going to continue to. So just make sure to hit that subscribe button down below and leave a like if you are enjoying it. It helps out the channel a lot if you do just do those two things. Also, here on the channel, we have daily NBA predictions. All of today's daily NBA predictions linked in the comment section or in the description down below, so go make sure you check that out. Again, every single day we are doing NBA picks here on the channel, so go make sure to check that out. If you like these videos, you probably like the daily NBA picks as well. Also, we posted our college football predictions yesterday. We posted our UFC Fight Night Moreno versus Albazi predictions as well on Sunday, as we get in now to the full 15-game slate. And we start things off on Thursday Night Football. We have got the Houston Texans taking on the New York Jets. I don't know why the Texans are underdogs. I have no idea. Genuinely. Stephon Diggs, even though it is a big loss for the Texans, not having Diggs for the rest of the year, Diggs does not sway this game that much. He doesn't sway this game to the point where the New York Jets, who have been god-awful this season, are the favorites. It makes zero sense to me. The New York Jets should be favored against like 5 teams in the entire league. And you'd be hard-pressed to find those 5 teams. The Carolina Panthers, the Tennessee Titans. I don't know who else, genuinely. The Raiders, probably. I'm struggling to find the 4th and 5th teams. Maybe the Jaguars. The Jaguars are playing better. I don't know who else they're favorites against. I'm not putting them, against the Browns and having them be the favorites. Yeah, I think 4 teams maybe. I would place the Jets currently as favorites, and I wouldn't expect them to win all those games either. Regardless of that, they're playing the Texans, and Houston's coming off that win over the Colts last week. CJ Stroud had a decent game. Of course, Joe Mixon, ever since that injury, has come back, and he's been very good for Houston. Again, no Stephon Diggs will hurt, and of course, Nico Collins is still out, so then you're going to see, Xavier Hutchinson at Tank Dell. You're going to see Robert Woods now worked into things. John Mechie III, the former Alabama receiver as well. I think the Texans are going to be fine. I think the Jets are just horrible, guys. The Texans defense plays well enough to the point where they should be able to stop whatever the Jets have got going on. It's just, again, they made the trade for Devontae Adams. Adams really hasn't done anything yet. I understand, again, he's still kind of getting used to the offense. He's been there only for 2 weeks, but they haven't won a game since September. They started the season 2-1, and they haven't won a game since. Losing to the Patriots is abysmal. And now you're putting them on a short week against a team in the Texans that are currently a playoff team. They're 6-2. Again, I don't care that Stephon Diggs is out of this game. The Houston Texans are winning it, and they should not be underdogs by any stretch of the imagination. This is ridiculous. Absolute blasphemous. I mean, what are we doing here? The Texans' losses this year are on the road in Green Bay and on the road in Minnesota. They are 6-2. The Jets are 2-6. You can see this one for yourself. The Texans are winning this one, and they are going to dominate this football game because the Jets are just not good. The last time we saw the Jets in primetime, the Bills ran right through them. Actually, I don't know about ran right through them, but played pretty well. The Bills ended up finishing that game out and winning the game by 3 points. Again, the Jets have not won a football game since September 19th. I'm going to take the team that just won last week. I'm taking the Houston Texans. A short week also does not help the Jets because they just suck. So give me the Texans. Next up, we go on to the Sunday games. We start things off in Atlanta. We have got the Atlanta Falcons hosting the Dallas Cowboys. Another team of the Cowboys that has been severely underwhelming. I get it. They kind of make their late fourth quarter comebacks in a lot of games, right? The 49ers game that they lost, obviously. Even in their win against the Steelers, their loss against the Ravens, they kind of find ways to make those fourth quarter comebacks. But this is a team now that is 3-4. I don't really see the postseason this year for the Cowboys. They have a tough schedule ahead. They go to Atlanta. They have the Eagles at home. They have the Texans at home. And then they got to go to Washington after that. It is a rough stretch for the Dallas Cowboys. And for the Atlanta Falcons, they bounced back last week, beating the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I thought Tampa was going to win that football game even without Chris Godwin and without Mike Evans, and Tampa, made it close, but in the end, of course, Atlanta pulled out of that one. I still don't see it with the Falcons. I don't think they're all that great. I think they might win a very poor They might win a very poor NFC South this season, especially with the injuries the Buccaneers are dealing with. Even though I still think Tampa has an outside shot to win it, I would definitely still favor the Falcons to win the division. New Orleans is horrible. Carolina's horrible. So it's really just a two-team race at this point. We'll see, though. The Falcons still have a long season ahead of them. I think they beat the Dallas Cowboys, simply put, because the Cowboys are absolutely awful. They can't win on the road. They've shown that time in and time out so far this year. Their only wins are, their only wins are on the road, but still, I don't think they're going to be able to win on the road in Atlanta. Their wins are the Steelers, Giants, and Browns. And yeah, by far the best win they have is Pittsburgh. But Atlanta's a team that's going to score. Dallas always finds themselves in big deficits to start the game, except for that game against the 49ers. But they did get out to a lead, and they just couldn't score to start the third quarter. And San Francisco just started to run away from them. Of course, Dallas made it close at the end of the game, but you knew the 49ers were probably going to go out there and win that one. I like the Falcons to go out here and win this game. They have more weapons on offense, and they should just be able to outscore the Cowboys in this game. Again, I am just super low right now on Dallas. Their running back situation isn't great. They're playing Zeke Elliott and Dalvin Cook. Their receivers, you still got CD, right? You got Tolbert as well. Think Brandon Cooks is still injured. Yeah, Brandon Cooks is not going to be back yet. And obviously, they have one of the best tight ends in all the game in Jake Ferguson, but they really just can't put it together right now. I'm taking Atlanta to win this game, especially because it's in Atlanta too. Give me the Falcons to win, and they will cover the 2.5 points as well. Next up, we go to Baltimore. We have the Ravens taking on the Denver Broncos. It's interesting that this line's 9.5. I'll be honest. I think it's interesting. I get it, the Ravens are the best team in football, one of the best teams in football. I would not say they are the best team in football after their, loss last week in Cleveland to Jameis Winston. I get it. They had a game-winning interception that they just dropped in the fourth quarter, and the next play, Jameis shot it over the top to Cedric Tillman, the former Tennessee Volunteer, for the touchdown. Regardless of that, the Ravens are 5-3, and the Broncos are 5-3. And I get it. The game is in Baltimore, but I don't think the Ravens are able to get away from Denver by 10 points in this one. I think they win the game, don't get me wrong, but I think they win this game by about a touchdown. Denver, they've shocked me all season long. I thought this team was going to be atrocious, and, to start the year, they were atrocious, losing back-to-back games to the Seahawks and the Steelers. Somehow they have found a way to be 5-3. They beat Tampa somehow. They beat the Jets 10-9. They beat the Raiders, lost to the Chargers, beat the Saints, beat the Panthers. Sure, they've beaten bad teams. Let's not, beat around the bush here. Their only good win this season is Tampa Bay. And now they have kind of a brutal stretch. They play the Ravens, and then they play the Chiefs. But I think their defense alone is able to keep them in this football game. Now, I don't think they win it, but the Ravens looked lackluster at points last week, and their defense sometimes in Baltimore does give up big plays. They kind of wear out towards the end of the fourth quarter, and you saw, again, what Jameis Winston was able to do in that game. I get it. Again, Baltimore is the better team. They should win this football game, but the Ravens rarely win games by double digits. They've only won twice this year by 10 points or more. That's that game earlier in the year against the Bills on Sunday Night Football, and that win it over the Buccaneers as well. But other than that, again, it's hard, I think, for Baltimore to win this game by 10 points. It's hard to win, let alone against any team by 10 points in the NFL this year, but especially against a team in the Broncos that do have the same record as Baltimore, and like them or not, and again, I still don't think the Broncos are very good. Their defense keeps them in football games, and Bo Nix just has to do enough to keep them in games as well. I like the Broncos to cover the 9.5. I don't think the Ravens win this game by 10 points. I definitely think Baltimore goes out and wins it, though. Of course, Derrick Henry's putting together an MVP-like season. Give me Baltimore to win the football game, but give me Denver to cover on the road. Next up, we go on to Cincinnati. We've got the Bengals taking on the Las Vegas Raiders. The Raiders are absolutely atrocious. I get it. They played the Chiefs close last week, and we did pick Vegas to cover that game, and they did. And they do play some close games. They played the Rams close the week before. I think the Bengals just kind of get away from them. Of course, the Raiders are going to have to go, cross country to the Midwest to take on the Bengals in this one. And I would expect the Bengals to go out there and win this football game. Even though, yes, they have struggled to beat anybody by 7.5 points so far this year. They've only done it once in their 10-point victory on Sunday Night Football against the Giants. But if they're ever going to blow out a team, it's going to be right now. They're coming off that loss to the Eagles last week. We got that one right. Obviously, I felt like that was somewhat of an easy pick, taking Philly to go on the road and beat Cincinnati. But eventually, again, the Bengals have to get going, right? I mean, they have a kind of a brutal stretch coming up. They've got the Ravens on the road. They got to go to Los Angeles. They got to go to Pittsburgh, to Dallas. But I mean, it's a brutal stretch coming up. They've got their next, after this Raiders game, 4 of the next 5 games for them are on the road. And I think this is a game that they go out there and absolutely decimate the Raiders. T. Higgins should be back from injury. It was a lackluster game last week for Jamar Chase. Didn't really do much. I'd expect him to get more involved, and I would expect the Bengals to go out here and win this football game against the Raiders, a team that is 2-6. They're 2 wins so far this year, being on the road in Baltimore, which still makes no sense, and then a win at home earlier in the year against the Cleveland Browns. Since then, they have lost to the Broncos, lost to the Steelers, lost to the Rams, lost to the Chiefs. Gardner Minshew, obviously, is the starting quarterback of this team now with the Aiden O'Connell injury. Desmond Ridder does have some design plays for him when Ridder comes off the bench. They have design plays for Desmond Ridder, but again, it is Gardner Minshew's team right now. Brock Bowers is obviously the primary target, but they just struggle so heavily with the receiving core. I mean, it's Jacoby Myers, who's a good receiver, but then, you got Trey Tucker, DJ Turner. These guys, they're speed guys, but they just don't know. The Raiders just don't know how to get them the football in open space. And, some of these guys are stuck at the end of the game with 1 or 2 catches and really no production. The run game for the Raiders is better. Alexander Mattison has taken over as the lead back, and he's been a lot better than what Zamir White was earlier this season. But other than that, I really don't like the Raiders this year. They don't play great defense, and I think the Bengals should be able to carve them up. Again, the Raiders, if this game was in Vegas, I would say maybe the Raiders are able to keep this game somewhat competitive, but we're in Cincinnati. The Bengals haven't had a game where they've completely just blown a team out yet at home. I think this is the game they do that. Again, Burrow in this offense has kind of just been waiting to explode, and I think this is going to be the game. Again, I'm still not completely sold on the Bengals this year, but the Raiders are just not that great. Once the Bengals get up by 10 points, I just kind of feel like the Raiders are just going to wilt away. Give me Cincinnati to go up early and just kind of continue to build on that lead as the game progresses. I'm taking the Bengals to win, at home against the Las Vegas Raiders. Next up, we go on to Cleveland. We've got the Browns taking on the Los Angeles Chargers, and the Browns are coming off a win for the first time this season, or for one of the first times this season. I know they're not winless, but the Browns are coming off a victory for the second time this year. They won week 2 on the road in Jacksonville. Now they are back at home for the 3rd consecutive week, taking on the Los Angeles Chargers, and we are actually taking the Browns. We are taking the Browns. I said it earlier this season that maybe I said it straight up. Deshaun Watson was not the problem for the Cleveland Browns. I'm here to announce that maybe he was. I don't know. Maybe it's just like a motivation thing. These guys don't want to play well for Deshaun Watson, or they don't really care when Deshaun Watson's the quarterback. I don't know. Maybe it's that, because Joe Flacco play a lot better. Because watching the Deshaun Watson-led Cleveland Browns, I was watching those games and it's like, I don't really think Deshaun's the problem. I think partially it's just the play calling for Deshaun Watson as well. They wanted Deshaun to run the ball a lot, and obviously you're not going to call quarterback run plays for Joe Flacco or now for Jameis Winston. If DTR was playing, I think they'd kind of be stuck in that same boat, because I think they would play call for Dorian Thompson-Robinson like how they would for Deshaun Watson. But I think the Browns are honestly better now with this offense with Jameis Winston. I mean, maybe that was apparent last week in their victory over the Baltimore Ravens, but I'd expect them to win at home against the Chargers here. I get it. The Chargers are 4-3. They're playing good football. They beat up on the Saints last week, but Saints are very good, especially without Derek Carr and with a combination of Jake Hayner and Spencer Rattler at quarterback. The Chargers lost the week before in that nail-biter game where Chad Ryland hit the game-winning kick for the Arizona Cardinals on Monday Night Football. But the Chargers have won 2 out of 3, beating the Broncos, and then of course the Cardinals game and the Saints game. I think the Browns are able to beat them, though. Again, Chargers got to go cross-country for this one. They've been able to win games, but their wins, again, are not good teams. Raiders, Panthers, Broncos, Saints. And credit to the Chargers. They're beating teams they should beat. And if you beat teams you should beat in the NFL, you are going to be in a position to make the playoffs at the end of the season if you can just beat a couple teams that you're not as good as, right? I mean, again, if the Chargers continue to beat up on teams that aren't very good, like they have the Titans in 2 weeks, they should beat them, right? Maybe they can go and steal a game against the Bengals. Maybe this is a team that does make the postseason. They have the Raiders again later on in the year. They've got the Patriots later on in the year. They got the Broncos again, right? I mean, these are teams the Chargers are expected to beat because of their good defense and because, Justin Herbert's doing a good job distributing the football. Again, it's not been a crazy year of sorts for Herbert, especially with that, receiving core. But Ladd McConkey had a breakout game last week, 2 touchdowns and big yardage for Los Angeles. And I'd expect Ladd McConkey to continue to do the same thing. Again, I think he's going to become Justin Herbert's favorite target for years to come here in Los Angeles. And I think they can continue to develop that here with the Chargers. But ultimately, I'm taking the Cleveland Browns to win this football game. I like them at home. I like the defense out of the Browns. Again, it just feels weird, but I think Cleveland just kind of plays better, and they kind of are more motivated to win football games when Deshaun Watson is not their quarterback. Seriously. I know Jameis Winston said it was an honor to serve Deshaun Watson. He's going to do everything for him now. And maybe that's facts, but I'm taking the Cleveland Browns to win this football game. I like what Jameis Winston brings this team. And again, the one bad part of Jameis Winston's game has always been he turns the ball over way too much. Obviously, he had that 30-30 season a couple of years ago, or many years ago now, again, with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, where he threw 30 touchdowns and 30 interceptions. So far this year, Jameis 4 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. If Jameis can continue to make the right reads and throw to the right guys, I think the Browns are going to be fine. Also, Nick Chubb is back. He's slowly getting worked back into the offense. Again, he's still not on a 100% workload, but Nick Chubb is getting back into the swing of things. I like the Browns to win at home here against the Los Angeles Chargers, to win 2 in a row and go to 3-6. Next up, we go on to Nashville, Tennessee. We have got the Tennessee Titans taking on the New England Patriots. Will Levis should be back this week. He is questionable, but I would expect our guy, Will Levis, to get the start against the New England Patriots. And I said it last week, and I think, again, I liked what the Titans did. You give Mason Rudolph the games you don't think you're going to win. You send Mason Rudolph to Buffalo. You send him to Detroit. And now you bring Will Levis back against the New England Patriots, who are one of the worst teams in football. The Tennessee Titans have to win this football game. And for Will Levis' sake, so we can continue to push this agenda that Will Levis is really good, or just good in general, we need the Titans to win this game against the New England Patriots. And I think they do. Drake May, we'll see if he's playing or not this week. I don't think he will. I'm going to be honest. I think it will be Jacoby Brissett getting the start in Tennessee this week, which makes me feel even better about a Tennessee Titans victory. I would expect the Titans to win this football game. I don't know about dominate, but, what we saw to Calvin Ridley last week was was something that we haven't seen all season. Ridley with 100-something yards, finally blew up in a football game, and I'd expect more of the same this week. I get it, the Titans lost 52-14 against the Lions last week, but I'll say that was one of the best games the Titans have played all season long. I'm serious. They looked good in that game at points. I get it. They lost the game on special teams, but really, the defense was dealt so many bad decks because half the Lions' drives would start at the 30-yard line of Tennessee, and it's like, all right, you give up 30 yards and the Lions are in the end zone, right? The offense didn't look bad at points. Again, Mason Rudolph wasn't great, but they were able to get the ball to Calvin Ridley. They had to drive that end at the 1-yard line because they couldn't get in the end zone. Tony Pollard continues to have big days. I think the Titans have flipped a page here. Now, if Will Levis can get going and Will Levis can get back into that second half form that he was in last season, I like the Titans to win this football game, and I like them to beat up on the Patriots here. Again, it feels like the best opportunity for Tennessee to win this one. I think it's a great spot. Again, coming off of, a game that you lost against the Lions, but there is some hope because of that game, because of Calvin Ridley breaking out. Obviously, Hopkins is gone, so now Ridley is just the number one receiver here. And of course, you get Levis back. Pollard's been running the ball well. And the Patriots, I know they're coming off a win over the New York Jets, but guys, what are the odds the New England Patriots win back-to-back games? Well, let's just be honest. What are the odds the Patriots go back-to-back and win 2 games in a row? Very low. Give me the Titans to win this football game, and I'd expect them to win this one. I think they'll pull away from the Patriots. I don't think the Patriots are very good, and again, I think this is the start of the Titans, turning the page and the Titans looking better. Give me the Titans to win this one, and they will cover the 3.5 points as well. Next up, we go on to Carolina. We've got the Carolina Panthers taking on the New Orleans Saints. I don't know if Bryce Young is starting just because of the Andy Dalton injury or because they are going to Bryce Young now. I think it's still because of the injury, but let me see. No, I believe Bryce Young's just the starter now. Which, was a move they needed to make eventually. I think Andy Dalton still gives them a better chance to win football games, but ultimately, the Carolina Panthers are not trying to win football games, so who cares? Now, Bryce Young conducted a really good first drive last week against the Broncos. It was capped off with a touchdown to Xavier Legette. It was a great first drive. I was very surprised, and then, of course, everything just fell downhill from the Panthers after that. Young threw 2 interceptions, had a touchdown pass at the end of the game, but the Panthers, reverted back into being the Panthers after that first quarter against the Broncos. I think they cover the 8 points here just because the Saints have been so lackluster. They started the season 2-0, obviously, and they have not won a game since. They lost to the Eagles, Falcons, Chiefs, Bucks, Broncos, Chargers. Now, Derek Carr should be back this week. I think he will. And if Carr is back, it gives him such a better chance to win this football game. I like the Cock Commander, Spencer Rattler, but Jake Haener, I think, is the better quarterback, and I think Jake Haener should be getting the opportunity over Spencer Rattler, but I believe it will be Derek Carr this week, and I would expect the New Orleans Saints to go out here and win this football game, but I do think the Panthers cover just because the Saints, again, have not won a game in 6 weeks, and on top of that, they have to straight up win, plus that cover 8 points. I know they blew out the Panthers in their first encounter earlier this season, but it will be Derek Carr's first game back. Obviously, Rashid Shaheed is still out. I would not expect the rookie out of Pittsburgh, Bub Means, to play this week, so it's going to be Olave, Mason Tipton, Marquez Valdez-Scantling, and Cedric Wilson in the receiving core. It's not great, man. It's really not. And we've talked about it before. The Saints are in trouble post this season because they're in salary cap hell. They're not even winning football games. Derek Carr looked like the MVP through 2 weeks, and then look what's happened to the Saints since. I'm taking the Panthers to cover. I'm taking the Saints to win. The Panthers will not win football games with Bryce Young at the helm. I'm gonna be honest. Chuba Hubbard's their one bright spot, and he's a huge bright spot for this team. Hubbard's been playing lights out this season. Jonathan Brooks, again, should be playing this week, I believe. Yes, Brooks is finally going to make his debut, the second-round pick out of Texas. I like Jonathan Brooks, but I do think Chuba Hubbard should still get a heavy workload because of how good he's been this season. Give me New Orleans to win the football game, their first in a while, but give me Carolina to cover at home. Next up, we go on over to New York. I believe this is the 1 o'clock slate. No, this is still the 10 o'clock slate. We've got the New York Giants hosting the Washington Commanders. Shout out to the Commanders, man. I mean, shout out to them. They were the last leg of my parlay last week. It was a 5-legger. We had, let me see if I can remember. We had the Eagles to beat the Bengals. We had the Detroit Lions. I mean, that was just a bonus. The Lions to beat the Titans. We had the Packers to beat the Jaguars. We had the Bills to go on the road and beat the Seahawks. And the final leg was the Commanders winning at home against the Chicago Bears. Now, I was pissed. They were up, 12-0 the entire game. The Bears go and score 2 touchdowns. But Jaden Daniels, man, my goodness. Again, Tyreek Stevenson, you're a clown. But my goodness, shout out to the Commanders and shout out to Jaden Daniels, who is officially in the MVP conversation. If he wasn't already, he is officially in the MVP conversation. The Commanders are legit. This is a legit football team. They're a good football team. And they're going to continue to win football games. They're going on the road against the Giants. The Giants are just pitiful, guys. This is not a good team. Daniel Jones, he's struggling. Daniel Jones is struggling, I'm not going to lie. I like with everything the Commanders do. They play great defense. Again, yes, they gave up 2 drives at the end of the game to the Bears, but I'll put that game more on the offense. And of course, the offense bailed them out at the end of the game by winning it, obviously. But the offense cannot completely fall flat like they did in that game against Chicago. Again, every time they got in plus territory, every time they got in field goal range, the offense just stalled out. They've done this before this season. You go back and watch the Giants game in week 2, the same exact thing happens. The Commanders just couldn't put the ball in the end zone. It was just field goal after field goal after field goal. They're putting together good drives, but it's only if they can execute and actually put the ball in the end zone is when Washington's at its best. I'd expect them to do that this week. Again, I think the Commanders are a top 5 team in football right now, just because of how good their defense plays and because Jaden Daniels is playing through an injury right now, and they still won that game against Chicago. Obviously, the Hail Mary is great and all, but you can't rely on that obviously to win football games. But I really like what Washington does. I want to see them trade for another receiver. I get it. They've got guys. They've got McLaurin. They got Noah Brown who caught the Hail Mary. They got Luke McCaffrey. I would still like to see them add another receiver. I don't know who at this point because Deontay Johnson just went to the Baltimore Ravens. I don't know what receiver they could get. I think Cooper Kupp's off the trade block obviously now because the Rams are going to try to win. But I would like to see Washington try to add a guy to complement Terry McLaurin. Regardless of if they do that or not, this is going to be a great season for the Commanders, regardless of, again, what happens in the postseason because of this next step they are taking in the playoff experience that their guys are going to get. Because, again, this is a long-term thing with the Commanders. This is only Jaden Daniels' rookie season, and he's already in the MVP race. Give me the Commanders to dominate the Giants. The Giants don't do anything, literally anything that impresses me. Daniel Jones is not going to be able to win this game for New York. Malik Neighbors hasn't had a big game in a while. Obviously, he was dealing with the injury, but still has not had a big game. Tyron Tracy's been good out the backfield for New York, but that's really the only thing I can offer you for the Giants. It's not that good of a football team. Washington beat them early in the year. I would expect them to win by even more this time. The first game, they won by 3 points. Washington's not going to have back-to-back games where they're not able to execute in the red zone. They're going to put the ball in the end zone this game, and Washington is going to straight up win the football game. So give me the Commanders on the road to win and to cover the 3.5 points against the New York Giants. We go on to the afternoon slate. We start things off with the Arizona Cardinals taking on the Chicago Bears. Give me the Cardinals to win this game at home. Guys, the Arizona Cardinals are playing great football right now. They cashed as pretty sizable dogs last week against the Miami Dolphins. I didn't see that one coming, but the Cardinals are 4-4 and they're playing great football. Now, they've won their last 3 wins, combined are by 4 points. Yes, they beat the Niners by 1 point, they beat the Chargers by 2 points, and they beat the Miami Dolphins by 1 point as well. But going on the road to Miami against a Dolphins team that, is back to what Tagovailoa is back in the lineup, and a team that is, very motivated to win football games again, and really, running their primary offense again is huge for the Cardinals, guys. It's a big deal that the Arizona Cardinals won that football game. And now they're 4-4. They get the Bears at home. They get the Jets next week at home. I'm just saying the Cardinals have a chance to win the NFC West, and I'd say they have a very good chance to win the NFC West. Just considering the schedule the San Francisco 49ers have to play for the rest of the season, I think the Cardinals right now are the favorites to win the NFC West. And for the Bears, how does this team respond after that Hail Mary loss? I mean, it's one of the worst losses you can take, seriously. Because, you think Chicago thinks they're going to be 5-2. They go on the road, a huge road victory beating the Commanders. They score with 30 seconds to go, and you give up a Hail Mary loss. How does the locker room morale go with Tyreek Stevenson, obviously? pandering to the crowd, and then, he's the one to tip it up into Noah Brown's arms. You saw the sideline shot of Caleb Williams reacting to the loss. Obviously, I don't know how that affects the locker room either. And now that you got to go back on the road, you got to go to the desert to play the Cardinals. I'm taking Arizona to win this football game. Again, the Bears' offense was horrible for 3 quarters, and yes, they showed up in the 4th quarter. And you can put the blame on Caleb Williams. Honestly, he did not have a good game. But I think the Bears' offense is so lackluster for extended periods of times in games. I can't rely on them to win football games. And you look at the Cardinals again. Kyler Murray, man, he's got his 1-2. He's got Marvin Harrison. He's got Trey McBride. And they beat up on the Dolphins. I wouldn't say beat up on the Dolphins, but they played really well in that Dolphins game. The offense was able to execute. And I like them to win again this week. I guess I'm sold on the Cardinals. I like this team this year, man. Kyler Murray is playing the best he's played in a while. It is the best version of Kyler Murray that we've seen in a very long time. He's running the football better than we've seen in a while. He's throwing the ball really well as well. And again, I cannot state how big of a victory it is for the Cardinals to go all the way from Arizona to Miami and to win on the road against the Dolphins team that got Tua Tagovailoa back. The defense is playing pretty well. We saw them shut down the Chargers a couple weeks ago. We saw them come back in that San Francisco 49ers game. Again, I think there's a very good chance, guys. We go to Week 18, Cardinals versus Niners, probably Sunday Night Football in Arizona. Winner wins the division. I'm serious. I think there's a very good chance we see that. That's how well the Cardinals are playing right now. I like them down the stretch this year, and I like Arizona to beat Chicago in this game. I think the defense of Arizona is good enough to stop whatever the Bears have got going on offense, and I like the Arizona Cardinals to win this game at home and take down Caleb Williams and the Chicago Bears. Let's go on to our next one. We go on to Philadelphia. We've got the Philadelphia Eagles taking on the Jacksonville Jaguars. Give me the Eagles to win this football game, and I think they will cover the 7.5 points as well. The Eagles are playing like one of the best teams in football right now, and they've kind of got it figured out, right? Back-to-back weeks. They barely got by the Browns a couple weeks ago at Lincoln Financial. That was the same game where Nick Sirianni, was taunting his own fans, which can't do that. But back-to-back wins on the road, a 28-3 victory against the New York Giants. And I guess the Giants, but a huge victory winning that game by 20 points last week against the Cincinnati Bengals. Their defense started that game absolutely horrible. I mean, my goodness. Joe Burrow led the Bengals down the field in a 7-minute drive, 8-minute drive to start the football game. Burrow started the game like 14 for 16 passing. The Bengals were like 9 for 11 on third down conversions early in that football game. But the Eagles found a way to win. The Eagles bared down. They found a way to win that football game. And really, it was the offense. It was a huge drive at the end of the first half that got the Eagles on the board. And, of course, they got the football again to start the second half. And I like what they've been doing, man. Saquon Barkley makes this team so dangerous. Jalen Hurts is still able to hurt you with the pass game as well. Obviously, with that 1-2 combo with A.J. Brown and with Devontae Smith. And again, Saquon Barkley's running lights out this season as well. And Hurts, again, his numbers might not be great. I mean, my fantasy team loves Jalen Hurts. Because of his 3 rushing touchdowns, 2 of them being tush pushes. But the Philadelphia Eagles have it all clicking right now. I think their defense is the one weak spot of this team. I'm going to be honest with you, especially when they're playing an elite offense. And I think Trevor Lawrence actually will have a big day for the Jacksonville Jaguars. Lawrence has been playing a lot better recently. He had 308 yards last week, of course, and Brian Thomas was his leading receiver at only 60. So Lawrence really distributing the football well. But Lawrence has been playing good football this season, I would say. Again, he started off pretty poorly, but ever since they got that first win against the Colts, Jacksonville's been playing better, and Trevor Lawrence has been playing a lot better as well. They should get They should get Trevor Etienne back. I don't know why I said that. I was thinking of their running back, Dearness Johnson. But they should get Trevor Etienne back this week. I don't know what role Etienne's going to have, and I'm going to be honest with you. It looks like Tank Bigsby is the starting running back for this team, but I would have to imagine that Etienne's going to be involved in some fashion. But give me the Eagles to win this football game. They should be able to cover as well. Just the damage this Eagles team is able to do with their run game is so effective, man. I mean, Barkley had an off game last week, too, and they still won the game by 20 points. And Jalen Hurts, again, is a very effective runner as well. And he's, the Eagles' primary strength is not their pass game, but they're able to hurt you with that as well, with shots to A.J. Brown, with shots to Devontae Smith. But then again, don't forget, A.J. Brown is an elite receiver in the NFL. He might be the best receiver in the NFL. I like what the Eagles bring, man. Again, they started the last season kind of like this too. They had a better record, obviously, but they kind of just fell off at the end of the year. I hope they don't straight fall off, because I think this team's got potential, obviously. Again, this was a team that was in the Super Bowl 2 years ago. I like them to beat Jacksonville. This game is in Philadelphia. I'd expect them to kind of beat up on the Jags here. And again, the Jaguars have been playing a lot better, but look at their next 3 opponents. Philly, Minnesota, Detroit, bye week, Houston. That's rough. Coming off the bye week, they have a lot of games they can win, though. After Houston, Tennessee, New York, Vegas, Tennessee, Indianapolis. The problem is, again, though, you gotta find a way to win games right now. If you're the Jaguars, you're 2-6. You gotta win. You gotta find a way to win 2 of 4. Yeah, you gotta find a way to win 2 of 4 in these next 4 hard games. But then even if you win out, you're 9-8. Yeah, this season's kind of a loss for the Jags. I'm not gonna lie. They played well against the Packers, but obviously couldn't pick up the victory. Evan Ingram finally showed out at the end of that game. Regardless, give me the Eagles to win this football game at home against the Jaguars and cover the 7.5 points. Next up, we go to Green Bay, Lambeau Field. We've got the Green Bay Packers taking on the Detroit Lions. Guys, the Detroit Lions are the best team in the NFL. They just are. On all 3 sides of the ball, offense, defense, and special teams, the Detroit Lions are the best team in the NFL, and it's not even close. It's not close. They would beat the Kansas City Chiefs right now. The Chiefs, once they play a good team, they're going to lose. Okay? The Chiefs are so Mickey Mouse right now. They just are. The Detroit Lions, actually, no, I don't want to say that. The Chiefs are a good football team. When they play the elite teams, like the Lions, even the Ravens, they're going to lose, I think, personally. Regardless, the Lions are, though, the elite of the elite. This is the best team in the NFL, and it's not even close. Jared Goff is, I keep saying he's the number 4 quarterback in the NFL. I kind of want to put him above Patrick Mahomes right now. I'm serious. But I will stay keeping Jared Goff as the number 4 quarterback in the NFL. He's an elite quarterback in the NFL, and he's going to become a Hall of Famer once the Detroit Lions win the Super Bowl this season. But I like everything the Lions do, obviously, with the run game. I get it. Jared Goff had, 85 passing yards last week, and they won the game 52-14. 52-14, and your quarterback had 85 yards. Goes to show how good your football team is when that's happening. Gibbs, Montgomery, the 1-2 punch, obviously. And it was just, again, their their punt team, their kickoff team with Cleve Raymond returning those was excellent. They were able to drive the ball downfield, just on special teams. And Jared Goff in the offense had 30 yards to go score every single time. And of course, that's why they won the game 52-14 against the Titans. Now, I'm not expecting them to absolutely blow out the Packers, but I think they're going to win this game. Jordan Love's questionable this week. I don't know if he's playing. Again, guys, Malik Willis is undefeated as the starting quarterback of the Packers, and even in relief, Malik Willis is undefeated as well. If you count that Jaguars win for Malik Willis, because, of course, that big play he got, that final drive of the game against Jacksonville to get them to field goal range, technically Malik Willis is 3-0, guys. I'm just saying. I think the Lions win the game, though. Again, I get it's in Green Bay. We saw Minnesota go into Green Bay earlier this year and win. The Packers only have 2 losses. That game in Brazil against the Eagles, and then, of course, that game we just mentioned against the Vikings in Wisconsin. But the Lions, again, I'm hard-pressed to pick anybody right now against the Lions. I think it's so hard to do. They kill you with the run game. They have 2 very good running backs in Gibbs and Montgomery. And Jared Goff is absolutely lethal with the play action. Jared Goff can absolutely torch you with the pass game as well. They've got weapons, too, in the pass game. Jameson Williams is still on suspension. It's okay. He'll be back next week. You got Sam Laporta still got Amon-Ra St. Brown. You got Tim Patrick. You've got guys who are going to make plays for this Lions squad. And they are just so difficult to beat, man. The defense plays pretty well as well. I don't think the Packers are going to be able to keep up because the Lions are going to punch them right in the throat to start this game. That's just what you do. That's what the Lions do. They come at you right away. They run the ball right down your throat, and then you're looking at a big deficit already. Again, the last time the Lions were on the road, they won 47-9 against the Dallas Cowboys. Actually, no. I forgot. They beat the Vikings. Still, though, they looked great in that game. They looked absolutely great in that game as well. I like everything the Lions do. This is by far the best team in the NFL. They're going to run the ball up and down the field against the Green Bay Packers, and Jared Goff, when you need him to, is going to hit that play action. Boom, Amon-Ra, 35 yards downfield. Then they take a shot. Jared Goff, another 40 yards. And then they dink and dime you down the field as well. 10 yards, 5 yards. I mean, it's just such a hard team to beat. They have so many unpredictable plays on offense as well. Legitimately, guys, I think the Detroit Lions are going 16-1 this season. I don't see them losing another game this year all the way to the Super Bowl. That's how good this team is right now. I'm all in. I'm all in on the Detroit Lions. Detroit dominates. They beat the Packers. Again, the Packers aren't bad. They're a good football team. I'm not going to lie to you. I like Tucker Kraft a lot. He's a great tight end for this team. I like what Jordan Love does. But the Lions are simply better, and they're simply much better. And that's no hit on the Green Bay Packers. I think they're a good football team. But the thing is, the Detroit Lions are the best team in the NFL, and they are going to beat a lot of teams. The Packers are one of their tougher matchups down the stretch here on the road. Sure, they go to Houston next week on the road on Sunday night. I think they win that game too, obviously. Like they win every single game the rest of the season. It will be a tough game. It'll kind of be like the Minnesota game, but Detroit will pull away towards the end of it, and I think the Lions win this game by about a touchdown. 5 points to 7. Give me Detroit to win this one. They'll win, and they will cover the spread as well. It's only 3. Give me Detroit. Again, when you get the best team in football, you take them every single week. Give me the Lions. Next up, we go to, I believe, our final 1 o'clock game. We've got the Seattle Seahawks hosting the Los Angeles Rams. The Seahawks are a weird team. They really are. Yeah, they're a weird team to predict, right? Last week, that loss against the Buffalo Bills, they had that drive, obviously, where they were down to the 1-yard line. They couldn't get in because the center just snapped the ball right over Geno Smith's head. I get it. It was raining, but I mean, you're the team from Seattle. You prepare for that every single day. I mean, it rains literally almost every single day in Seattle. Like, wouldn't you be prepared for that? The Bills should be the team that's not accustomed to that. I mean, hell, they just see snow all year long. I don't know. Regardless, the Seahawks, I mean, that win over the Falcons is just more confusing now because they've lost 4 of 5. And somehow they went to Atlanta and won. I don't get it. It's the NFL's weird sometimes, man. They went on the road, beat Atlanta by 20 points, and they come back at home and lose by 21 against the Bills. Again, I thought they were going to lose that game to the Bills, but just a little interesting. I don't know. For the Rams, right, they're back, I guess. I don't know. Beating the Raiders, beating the Vikings. All of a sudden, the Rams are 3-4, looking to become 4-4, and they have their 2 top receivers back. Puka's back. Cooper Kupp's back. And all of a sudden, the Rams are dangerous again. Yes, they still have some injuries in the offensive line, but you know how much of a help this is for Matthew Stafford? I mean, he's got 2 of the top 10 receivers in the NFL back on his team. I mean, the Rams, again, they are a much different football team now. We're talking about, again, motivation to win in terms of like, oh, the Miami Dolphins now have reason to win and motivation to win because Tua Tagovailoa is at quarterback. Well, again, that's what the Rams have now. I mean, the Rams have motivation to win football games, and guys feel like they can win football games because of what they have on offense now. And I'm just realizing, I don't know how I missed the Miami Dolphins and the Buffalo Bills. We will come back to that in a second. That'll be at the end of the video. I just realized, wait, the Dolphins aren't on bye weeks, and aren't on bye week, and I haven't talked about the Dolphins yet. That's my fault. Okay, that'll come at the end of the video. I don't know why I just completely missed that. Regardless, we'll continue this, and we'll get to the Dolphins and Bills at the end of the video. There's motivation to win games, not just motivation, but again, this team feels like they can win football games now, and I think they're going to beat the Seattle Seahawks. They are the better football team between them and Seattle. Seattle, again, they've won 1 game in the last 5 weeks. Their wins are the Broncos, Patriots, Dolphins without Tua, and Atlanta, which again, that's the weird game that sticks out, obviously. But regardless, I don't think Geno Smith is a winning quarterback right now in the NFL. I just don't think he is. DK Metcalf's questionable. See if he plays. I mean, hell, when your leading rusher last week is Geno Smith with 16 rushing yards, something's wrong. I like the Rams to win this football game. They've got the better offense. The defense is progressively getting better week by week. And give me the Los Angeles Rams to beat the Seattle Seahawks on the road. Actually, we're going to do the Dolphins-Bills game right now. I'm going to cut and I'll get that graphic on the screen. But simply put, the Rams are the better team. They have the better offense. They should be able to score all day long against the Seahawks defense. They gave up a bunch of points to Buffalo. And I don't like anything the Seahawks offense has got going. I don't. I'm going to be honest. Again, I don't think Geno Smith is a winning quarterback in the NFL in 2024. I'm just going to be honest. It's going to be the Rams to win. Again, I have kind of cursed the Los Angeles Rams. Anything I pick on the Rams, the opposite usually happens, but give me the Rams to win on the road, and they will cover the 2 points as well. Okay, so here's the game I forgot about, the Dolphins and the Buffalo Bills. This is in the 10 o'clock slate, or the 1 p.m. Eastern slate, obviously, but we've got Miami and Buffalo from Orchard Park here. I'm taking the Bills to win the football game, but we're taking Miami to cover. Miami is good enough just to lose a lot of these games. I mean, that's what they've kind of been, last 2 weeks. They were good enough just to lose against the Indianapolis Colts, and they played really well against the Cardinals. They had that game for most of the game, and they just choked it at the end, and Arizona ended up winning it. I think they stay competitive with the Bills here, but I don't think they beat a really good Buffalo team that's 6-2 this season, right? Buffalo's only losses are both on the road to the Ravens and to the Texans. It's one of the best teams in the NFL. It's a team that I think right now could be the Kansas City Chiefs as well. They're only better with Amari Cooper now, obviously, and I get it. Amari Cooper had like 3 yards last week against the Seahawks because it was a big Keon Coleman day, but that's fine. Again, I mean, that is perfectly fine, and it was a big Khalil Shakir day as well. Josh Allen finally threw his first interception last week, but that goes to show how good Josh Allen has been this season. I mean, truly, the guy has been an absolute monster for the Bills all year long. James Cook has been really producing up the run game as well, but I think we see a competitive football game because I do think the Dolphins are able to score against Buffalo. Buffalo's defense has been pretty good this year, but I mean, if anyone's going to score, it's going to be Miami. Tyreek Hill is due for a big week. It's going to happen eventually. Now, I'm playing him in fantasy this week, so I hope it's not this week. But he's been more than due for a huge week. And again, the entire Dolphins offense just plays so much better with Tua Tagovailoa, at quarterback. Devon Achane fully, again, becomes that lead back for Miami. He's able to produce now in the run game because there's a threat of the play action. He's able to produce in the pass game as well, too, because of just the way Tua plays. And again, Tua is so valuable to this Dolphins team, and it's such a big get that he's back in the lineup. I think they cover, but I don't think they beat the Bills, and that's a problem for the Dolphins, because I said last week, it was a huge game for Miami. You got to win that game to go to 3-4, and sure, then if you lose the Bills, you're 3-5, but then look at the schedule the rest of the way. Rams, Raiders, Patriots, Packers, Jets. Like, these are games they can win, but every game matters in the NFL, man, and having that one against the Cardinals would have been absolutely huge for that team, and now they're 2-5, and they're staring down a 2-6 start if they can't beat the division-leading Buffalo Bills, who, I mean, basically just have a free route to the playoffs at this point. I mean, remember when everyone said the AFC East was horrible and Tom Brady was in the Patriots? Well, that's literally what the Buffalo Bills are right now. I mean, 6-2 Bills, 2-5 Dolphins, 2-6 Patriots, 2-6 Jets. The division is absolutely horrible with the exception of the Bills, and the Bills are going to, cakewalk their way into the postseason. Good for them. They're the best team in the division by far, but literally they have no opposition right now in the AFC East. Again, their toughest out is going to be the Miami Dolphins, but I do think they win this tough game. Again, the game is in Buffalo. If it was in Miami, I'd consider taking the Dolphins, but the Bills always play the Dolphins well. The Bills always seem to have the upper edge on Miami, and I would expect that to continue. Again, Josh Allen is playing like an MVP right now. Is he the MVP? I don't know. He's in the conversation, obviously, with Lamar, Daniels, Jared Goff. I mean, and of course, Allen. Those are your top four. I'll give a shout out to Derrick Henry. But again, I think the Bills absolutely. I think the Bills win this game. I think they're kind of a lock to. I wouldn't say lock to win this one, but I think they win. I think Miami though will cover the spread just because of the explosiveness of the offense. Tyreek Hill usually has big games against the Bills as well. I'd expect Miami to stay in it, but I do think Buffalo wins. I think we see a couple lead changes in this one. It kind of shows okay, the Dolphins are back to stay. But again, look at their record. 2-6 is rough. Give me the Bills to win this one, but I do think the Dolphins cover and keep it close. As we go on to Sunday Night Football, we have got the Indianapolis Colts going on the road to Minnesota to take on the Vikings. It's about damn time. I have been calling for Joe Flacco to start for the Indianapolis Colts, and it finally happens. I want to make this very clear. I like Anthony Richardson. I really do. I still hope Anthony Richardson is going to be a premier quarterback in the NFL one day. He has got all the arm talent to do so. Arm strength. I don't know about everything else, but I hope he's going to be a very successful quarterback in the NFL. But the best move right now for the Indianapolis Colts to win football games, a team that is 4-4 and definitely in the playoff hunt, is to go to your 40-year-old quarterback off the bench, a 39-year-old quarterback off the bench that knows how to win football games. It's Joe Flacco. Guys, the Colts offense looked the best when Joe Flacco was playing quarterback for this team. Even in the loss against the Jaguars, Flacco had 350 yards. The win over the Titans, Joe Flacco was starting. This team is best when Flacco's at the helm. And now he's back. They're going to go on the road and shock a lot of people and beat the Minnesota Vikings. Because this Colts team is so capable, man. They have a good defense. And again, if Joe Flacco started last week against the Texans, I think they beat the Texans. I'm going to be completely honest with you. I think if Flacco started that game, they win. Jonathan Taylor's back, something that Joe Flacco did not have in his 2 games started with the Colts in Jacksonville and in Tennessee. He did not have that. He did not have the run game of Jonathan Taylor. He had Trey Sermon and Tyler Goodson. Now Flacco gets his lead back. And now again, Josh Downs is ready to break out. Michael Pittman, Alec Pierce, these guys are going to have huge games now because Joe Flacco's back at quarterback. You look at the flip side, the Minnesota Vikings coming off back-to-back losses. They were 5-0. Now they are 5-2. It looks like their tight end TJ Hawkinson will be back this week. That's great. But back-to-back losses to the Lions and the Rams, it sucks. They're back on prime time now, though. And is Sam Darnold's run over? I don't know. I feel like this might be the beginning of the end. But then you look at their schedule after this Colts game, then they go to Jacksonville and to Tennessee. 2 games they should win. They should win. We'll see. Justin Jefferson, again, is going to continue to produce. He's been the leading receiver every single week this season for the Minnesota Vikings. I would expect that to continue. Again, this game's on Sunday Night Football. It's a huge game for both these teams on prime time. But ultimately, I like the Colts. I like the Colts, and I like Joe Flacco. I'm not picking against Flacco. Flacco's too good. I'm serious. Flacco at 39 years of age is playing the best football he's played since that Super Bowl year with the Baltimore Ravens way back when. I'm serious. Joe Flacco's playing lights out right now, and I think, again, the Vikings are going to start to kind of crumble now. I think they are. Again, the Sam Darnold insanity run, I think, is going to start to come to an end. The Rams were able to shut down the run game in Aaron Jones. I think the Colts are able to do the same thing. They play pretty solid run defense at points. Again, I know Tank Bigsby ran all over them, but I do think the Colts defense is good enough. And what has lost the Colts games a lot this season is the lack of offense. There is going to be no lack of offense this year right now with Joe Flacco, and for the rest of the season with Joe Flacco, because it appears what Shane Steichen said, Joe Flacco's the starter for the rest of the season. because he should. Give me Indianapolis to win the football game on the road. They are 4.5-point dogs. They will cash us plus 190 underdogs. Give me Flacco and the Colts to go to 5-4 and to start their run to the postseason. I like Indianapolis to win the game on the road. As we go on to our final game of the week, Monday Night Football, Arrowhead Stadium, we've got the Kansas City Chiefs and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I feel so great about the Buccaneers covering 9 points. I think they do that easily because the Chiefs, again, can't blow anybody out. The Chiefs play close games every single week. They're not going to be able to blow out the Buccaneers, but I think Kansas City will pull out of this one with the victory. Their first loss is coming. I think there's a great possibility the Bucs shock a lot of people and win this football game. Baker Mayfield, with the cards he has been dealt, with Sterling Shepard, Trey Palmer, Jalen McMillan as his leading receivers, he's been doing a decent job. Like, last week was not a bad game for Baker Mayfield. He still put up numbers. Unfortunately, again, their defense didn't really play all that well. And if there was review on the Kyle Pitts fumble at the goal line, maybe Tampa wins that game. I'm just saying, I thought Kyle Pitts let that ball go a little bit early. I'm just saying. But given the situation, I don't think Baker played all that badly. I think Baker's doing a great job as the starting quarterback of this Buccaneers squad, and I think they're able to stay competitive with the Chiefs. I would sprinkle some on the Buccaneers to win this football game. We're playing them to cover. I would sprinkle a little bit on Tampa Bay to win the football game. I think it's entirely possible. I truly think it is. Kansas City still has not been impressive all season long. They win games because of their defense. I get it. But Patrick Mahomes is yet to play lights out. Kareem Hunt is, the workload running back, and good. I'm happy for Kareem Hunt. My fantasy team's happy as well, but Kareem Hunt is really doing a great job as the starting running back of this team. It looks like next week against the Broncos, Isaiah Pacheco will be back, so this will probably be the final week of Kareem Hunt starting, unfortunately. We'll see if they get Juju back. Obviously, DeAndre Hopkins is in the swing of things now. Travis Kelce had his first big game last week against the Las Vegas Raiders, but again, Patrick Mahomes still has been nothing special this year. 1,600 yards, that's whatever, but 8 touchdowns, 9 interceptions. Again, Mahomes has not been crazy this year. He's still playing good football. You watch Mahomes play again, he's still a very good quarterback, but the stats and the decisions sometimes Mahomes makes aren't what we've seen out of Patrick Mahomes the last couple of years he's been in the NFL and when he's been the best quarterback in the NFL. Right now, guys, Patrick Mahomes is not the best quarterback in the NFL. It's Josh Allen. Josh Allen's the best quarterback in the NFL, or Lamar Jackson. I will take Jared Goff as well. That's not to say skill-wise Mahomes isn't the best, but right now playing, Mahomes is not playing like the best quarterback in the NFL. And again, the interceptions puts Kansas City in trouble sometimes. The thing for them, too, which is going to be interesting, Mahomes, if the Chiefs are going to win, Mahomes is going to have a big game. Because Tampa has always played the run well, and they will continue to play the run well. I don't think, again, the Chiefs rely on Kareem Hunt to carry the ball 27 times a game. It's not going to really work against Tampa Bay, because Tampa Bay is going to stop that run. Yeah, Hunt might break off a couple big runs, but as a whole, Tampa plays the run really well, and it's going to force Mahomes to throw the football, which is a crazy thing to say, but yeah, Kansas City's going to be forced to throw the ball at Mahomes this week, and we're going to see. That's why I think there's a possibility the Buccaneers go to Arrowhead and win this game on Monday night. I think it's a definite chance it happens, but we're going to go with the safe pick. We're going to take Kansas City to win the game. They are undefeated. I don't think this is their first loss, but it would not surprise me in the slightest if this is where they get got and the Buccaneers go on the road and beat them. We're taking Kansas City to win. Again, it's going to have to be a big night out of Mahomes if the Chiefs are going to win this one, and I'm willing to say that I think Mahomes will step up to the occasion. I think Travis Kelce is going to continue to play better. I think DeAndre Hopkins obviously going to have a continued extended role, and Juju Smith-Schuster obviously should be back in the lineup as well. He should benefit with this offense as well, with Juju being the second receiver now and not being a number one because of D-Hop now. So give me the Chiefs to win, but give me the Bucs to cover the 9 points. And folks, that will do it for our week number 9 NFL predictions here on the channel. Make sure to hit that subscribe button down below if you did enjoy the video, and make sure to come back for next week for week number 10. Make sure to leave a like if you did enjoy the video. Again, we'll be back every single week for NFL picks. We've got the daily NBA predictions, the weekly college football predictions, and the weekly UFC predictions as well. So folks, thank y'all for watching. Make sure to hit that subscribe button down below for more. Make sure to comment if you do disagree with any of the picks. Folks, thank y'all for watching, and Mamba forever.